I heard someone say something the other day that really stuck in my head, and that was that commitment turns up the volume in any relationship. So it just tends to amplify whatever is going on. So if it's really healthy, it'll just turn up the volume. You'll progress. If it's really dysfunctional, if it's avoidant, if it's tumultuous, commitment will just turn up the volume on all of that. So things are going great, but let's say one of you decides you want to take the next step and ask to get engaged, ask the other person to get engaged. Well, that's the sign of commitment. There's that dial. You're saying, I don't want to continue this status quo. I want to turn it up. I want to increase the volume. And then at that point, all the cracks are either enhanced, or if it's really genuinely healthy, it evolves higher. So commitment turns up the volume. It amplifies all the good and bad things in a relationship. If you're, I don't know, if you're friends and there's just something that's annoying to you about one of you, then let's say you hire that friend. Well, you could have ignored all those things that annoyed you about them before, but now that you've hired them, that is going to be more pronounced. So again, that commitment amplifies whatever is going on in that relationship. So joining a family business, getting engaged, any of those things, any added commitment, it's going to either make things better or worse, which is why it's a tool, which is why people do take things to the next level, which is why people do go and get engaged, get married, all that, because if you just sort of float down the lazy river of life and rock no waves, then, or don't rock the boat, I guess, then it sort of just continues to be status quo, and it slowly fizzles out. Actually, it slowly just dies. And so that actually comes around, and we can discuss commitment after a parent-child commitment. A parent commits to a child to making and having a child, and then 20, 30 years later, 6 years later, 17 years later, it doesn't matter, years later, if that parent is having problems with the kid, especially if it's, year 18, year 25, year 30, you're still having conflicts. You still you're not really enjoying your time together. You're only doing it because of some obligation, societal obligation. You're the parent, you're the child, you're supposed to get together on holidays. So if after all those years, you as the parent, or you as the child, really, since I'm not a parent and I'm looking at it from the child's point of view. So if I, at 30, look back in my last 30 years, and after all those years, I simply don't enjoy my time with you, or it's not as enjoyable as I would like it to be, or it feels obligatory, or it feels it just feels like it's required. It's sort of like I have to go to my parents' house for Thanksgiving dinner or something like that, right? Well, you don't want to, or maybe you want to, but it's not going to be enjoyable when you get there, or you hope it'll be enjoyable, and then it's not. There's conflict, or there's coldness, or there's not the intimacy that you're expecting or hoping in an ideal world you would have, or in not even an ideal world, just in general, that you would hope that you would have a deeper intimacy with those people. After all, you've spent the most time with those people, especially in the first 18 years of your life. So if after all those years you simply don't enjoy your time with that person, there's a problem. It's really not up to me whether I genuinely enjoy you. It's up to you, because if we genuinely are completely mismatched, then it's weird that we're parent and child, because then you don't grow up in the same household and not share any interests or anything like that. We're just simply conditioned to share an interest with our family. So if after all those years I don't enjoy time with you, are you seriously going to tell me that it's my fault. I mean, maybe I'm some stubborn, crazy person, but if you're the one who made me, if you're the one who spent all this time and money and investment into me in order to make sure I grew up, healthy and smart and all those things, I'm sort of the guest, I sort of like popped into your life from another planet, like a distinguished dignitary from children's world. So if I'm not enjoying myself, is it the guest's fault? I mean, obviously our relationship is both two-sided, but if I am 10, if I am 12, if I am 17, 20, and I consistently don't enjoy it, that's not my fault. It's really not my fault. It is not the guest's fault. I'm a guest in your world. You're introducing me to the world. You're teaching me about the world. You're teaching me about how to be a human in this family, in this country, in this life. So are you seriously going to tell me that my non-enjoyment of you is my fault? That somehow I willfully just don't want to enjoy you? Why would I not want to enjoy you? You're the most basic relationship in my life. If you're the older, wiser one, as referenced in every, argument we might have, isn't it that much more obvious? Isn't it that much more obvious that you drive the bus in this situation? You are the older, wiser one, so you drive the bus. You are in charge. You were in charge from the very moment I was born. So if we agree that you're the older, wiser one who has more experience and are the one really driving this bus, especially in my youth, but how I'm in my youth also is going to be how I develop and find myself as an adult. So if you're driving this bus, you need to own your role in the relationship. You need to own it. You need to own your father role or your mother role or whatever your adult role is to that other person. You need to lead the way. You need to recognize my deficiencies as a kid as we go through life, as I go through childhood, as you raise me. You need to have a higher awareness level. You need to have a higher awareness level of my internal state and my deficiencies. Because you've been around long enough. You've been around longer. And no matter what you feel, it's how I feel that's important. I mean, it's important how you feel, but no matter how you feel like you're giving me love. Do I feel that love? Or do I feel scolded? Or do I feel something else? You don't know. You don't know what you are sending. You think you're sending one thing and you're sending something else. Or it's not coming through the way you want it to come through. So no matter what you feel, it's how I feel that is at least as equally important, if not more. I mean, to me, what I feel is most important. So if you're making me feel bad, I don't want to feel bad, so I'm going to protect myself and do something about it. Walk away, tell you you're making me feel bad, whatever. But so to me, how I feel is most important. And I have to be able to express to you that I feel, neglected or sad or hurt. So you can be thinking you're showing me love and I'm feeling belittled or something else. So you feel great. You're like, I'm giving her love. I'm showing her tough love or something like that. So you think you're giving me love. I am not receiving love. I have to feel safe enough to tell you that you're not going to overreact. What do you mean? What are you talking about? How could you not understand that I'm giving you love by doing this? You have to respect me enough to hear me, but you genuinely have to recognize it. Even if I say nothing, I might be a 6-year-old who cannot really express myself to this sort of an ability. You have to recognize those internal changes, those physiological changes, those changes in expression, those changes in mood, that energy. You have to be intimate enough with your child and recognize it. So it's no matter how you feel, it's how they feel. And if you feel, or you are told, they are not feeling loved, then it's really important to take that feedback and to do something about it. If your intention is to show love. If you don't care, then why are you trying to show love anyway? Then, So if you're trying to show love, you're showing me that you care enough to want to show love. Then if you don't change, then you're selfish. If you don't change the way that you're showing me love based on my feedback that I'm not receiving love, if you just dismiss me, oh, you just don't understand, you're just too young, you don't understand how much I love you, which is why I'm, yelling at you to get better grades or something like that. Is that what you mean by loving me? That's not love. That's not the correct use of love. Maybe the correct word in that situation is I am correcting you so that you are whatever you learn. And through correction is how I show love. But let's be honest. You're not showing love. Maybe that's how you want to be loved. That is not how that person is receiving love. That person receiving correction doesn't feel love behind it. They might be told there's love behind it, but it doesn't feel like love. Therefore, it's not. Intellectual and emotional are very different. You might know something intellectually, but emotionally, it doesn't really matter because you feel something different. So if you're scolding me is your way of showing love, but the way I'm built, receiving scolding is actually just hurtful, then it's worse. It's worse than not showing anything. It's actually damaging. It's actually going negative. It's going below. I'm not showing you love. I'm showing you zero love. I'm showing you hate, or whatever the opposite of love is. I'm creating an actual negative. So it's better not to say anything unless you truly understand how to show love to the other person in the way they receive it as love, which is why it's important to know those 5 love languages. 5 love languages book that I read. I just think it's fabulous. So, and if you're a parent and you don't know, you aren't aware, you don't understand that the way you might be thinking you're showing love is coming across wrong, then you are completely selfish, because you are thinking about it from your point of view and not from the other person's point of view, who you say you care so much about. If you care that much about them, then you need to show that you're thinking about them more than you're thinking about yourself. If you're trying to, say you're trying to apologize or sort of get back into that equilibrium. Because in all relationships, we're supposed to be equal. It's an equilibrium until one person hurts the other, and then that person goes lower, and then they have to bring themselves back up. And that's the only time that we are lower than the other person, as far as how, we must subjugate ourselves to them to say, I'm sorry I did this. Please forgive me. I would like to be equal with you again. And then that person cares enough about that other person to say, yes, please come up. I don't want to be in this weird situation. Or if they don't care enough, then they can just say, no, I don't really want to be friends with you. I'm just going to go off on my own, which is great because that also releases that person from being in that servitude state. You're either immediately coming up to say I'm sorry and apologize and be back into like equilibrium, or you're not, because this person's like, nope, bye, leaving. And then this person's like, okay, I'm free from this guilt because we no longer have a relationship. We have severed it. But if we want to keep it, we cannot keep it in this state. It must come back to equilibrium, or it will always be one person over another. And that's a victimizing, unhealthy, imbalanced relationship, which a lot of people are in. But I will not be. And just wanted to say all that.